see if I can get this microphone checked up. I hope it sounds okay. You know, I'm using a new program, obviously, so it takes a little bit of time. So I'm doing my testing while I'm live just to see you know, what the small specifications do in reality, the small EQ changes or mic setting changes. Let me know how the mic sounds. But in any case, it's getting heated up, y'all, and the more commentators break this down, but you could have guessed this, and people did guess this, and people literally told others this would be the result. And people sat there, so many people sat there in total utter belief of their own interests. And I'm talking about all types of people. I'm not just talking about one white people, black people, and I'm not talking about Middle Eastern people, or whatever people want to define themselves as, right? People that either didn't vote, or people that voted for Trump, or people that didn't vote for Kamala Harris. They were all told that this was going to have a violent effect on their lives, right? What I mean by violent is, of course, you could see when people are marching down the street with guns. That's an expression of violence, an intent to use violence to achieve your goals. Now, whatever your goals are, that's obviously a step towards violence. Um, but that's not even the violence that really is going to hit people first. But you don't know. I mean, maybe there's going to be a couple of people that come and shoot up some people in your town, or hang a few people, hang a few women, hang a few young people going home late at night, or it could be some other type of local domestic terrorist acts against certain communities, even if those communities have the permission and permits to carry guns. They don't seem very effective in defending a damn thing, which is, why you usually wouldn't choose the gun first when your ability to even do something with a gun is limited. You might want to also vote, and you might also want to take interest in your own political fate, right? And you can only do that by following this kind of stuff. Now, I like Roland Martin. It's not even a matter of do you like him, you have to respect the man. The man has built a platform with experts from our communities. And these aren't DEI experts. We just know how racism works. You got to have a space, because if you're not willing to deal with your space and provide a space for yourself, hey, well, often you will find out other people have less of a reason to even work with you, right? So, part of this is self determination. And I appreciate that about Roland Martin. On top of that, he knows what the hell he's talking about. If he does make mistakes, he admits them, and they are very few, because, in terms of black media, Roland Martin got it going on. I mean, he really is the news of the black community. To be honest with you, now I don't always watch Roland Martin. I do here and there, but when I do, he's I just got to tell you, he's breaking it down um, even further for the black community. Now, I don't just listen for commentary regarding the black community. I don't myself. I listen to global events that affect all communities. And I take those effects seriously, because I'm smart enough to know we're all interconnected. If one is affected, then we're all affected somehow, positive or negative, whether you like it or not. Those are the laws of the universe, right? Um, Now, so I pay attention to other shit. When the Ukraine war was kicking off, I'll give you an example. When Putin announced he was lining those troops up, I'll give you an example. I followed that, and I said, you know what? Shit, I need to go sell my crypto right now, because that shit is about to sink the moment people realize this man is about to invade Ukraine. And so I did it, and I did it just like a week or two before he actually invaded. And it took him a month or so to get all those troops there. So he was talking about it for a while. I had averted catastrophe by just getting rid of my crypto and waiting for it to come back up, a little bit, or finish dropping at least before I bought back in, and I averted that cliff, that mountain, you know, and but regarding this election, sadly enough, although black people at high percentages voted for Biden and Harris more than other groups of people, sorry to say, not enough of us did. And so we will be receiving the effects like we didn't support any of those initiatives. We will be getting the same effect that people that voted for Trump will get, which ironically is negative. I mean, they get negative shit from Trump, and in their mind, they think it's a reward. I mean, imagine not even being thrown a doggy biscuit and thinking it's a reward. I mean, but those are the type of people you're dealing with. You're dealing with people that are saying, "Hey, you know what? Fuck it. If Trump says we don't need FEMA, then we don't need FEMA. Maybe it'll work better." No competence, no analysis on that. They just jump right in it because they're just following anything Trump says. But let's listen to how deep it goes, because there's a lot of black people that were talking about they were businessmen and talking about they was voting for Trump because Trump is in business, right? There's no indication that Trump was going to do a damn thing about anything business wise. So let's check this out.
Trump's immigration order is having an impact, guess what, on school campuses, but also on farms. NFL Hall of Famer Warren Sapp files a $20 million lawsuit, a wrongful arrest against a Florida sheriff's office. Wait till we show y'all the video. That more. It's time to bring the funk. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
And that I don't know what this psychological game is, but it only works on dumb people. Like folks think you can clown Roland Martin. Yo, man, you will never ever step around Roland Martin in real life. These people that are dissing him, because Roland is actually not at all anything like the way they try to make him seem. Like Tariq Nasheed would be afraid of Roland Martin in real life. You see what I mean? Because Tariq Nasheed is petty, Roland Martin isn't. You see what I mean? He's on a whole nother caliber. That would be like saying, I mean, let's be honest, man. Tariq Nasheed he's just a dude who got some YouTube views. That's it. As far as preparation for politics and having some sort of real understanding of politics, how it works in the community, he doesn't really have it because he doesn't know how the system really works. He guessed his way through it. And Roland's not guessing. That's the
issue by President Lyndon Johnson.
As you can see, his constituency and his network of experts, they rock with him, and they're broad. These are not just a small little narrow network. Nah, these are competent people that really have some serious breakdowns on Black life politically in the U.S. So let's
Johnson that dealt with the issue of discrimination in federal contracting. Joining us right now is Damon Hewitt, President and Executive Director for the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Don't ask me why he's wearing a purple tie being an alpha. Plus Ron Busby Sr., of course, President and CEO of the U.S. Black Chambers, Inc. No surprise he got a little red in his tie because he's a little Kappa. All right, let's get right to it. Damon, I'm going to start with you. First off, look, we know these guys have been targeting DEI, but the going after the Lyndon Baines Johnson executive order is a whole different thing, because that dealt specifically saying you can't discriminate in the hiring of folks when you're getting federal contract. That's a whole different conversation.
Sorry about that. Okay, I was on mute. Now let's see here. What they talking about is the DEI shit that Trump is removing, right? Through an executive order. Now, executive orders don't always turn out to be legal. So, and there still is the law. So the Supreme Court has to approve this. It's not that it can just happen. Yeah, it can disturb people, but he can be ordered to reinstate it until he has something better that is designed to oppose and eradicate discriminatory practices by the federal government or any other agency or business, you know? So there's supposed to be protective measures in place. Trump can't just remove stuff as much as he would like without a congressional order, but also the Supreme Court has to go along with it to some degree, right? Why? Because it's in the Constitution that there's got to be some protections against it. So this is not the end of the day, but it's the beginning. It can stop you for about four. It can stop your business. What Trump just did, people that have gotten contracts who are likely not DEI hires, but just proving that, hey, this is equity. You know, these persons have done the same amount of person work or more work than other persons. So let's make sure that we have an equal amount of representation on all levels, right? And well, people that are opposed to DEI, they don't want that. They don't want equality. That's the irony in it. But the law is there to protect you to make sure that everyone has an equal opportunity. So it's clear um, this won't go on forever, but it's also clear it could go on for much longer than 4 years because fighting cases like this in the courts can take over 4 years. Do you know what that does to certain people's contracts that they may have had with their businesses with the government? Let's take a listen.
Station.
Well, look, we always knew, Roland, that they were going not just after issues, they're going after people and also going after the money. That's exactly what this is really about. The same reason why they went after federal contracting programs after the Students for Fair Admissions case, the higher ed affirmative action case. And so this is really troubling. You know, the message being sent here and the implications of this rescission is that federal contractors no longer have to take, it seems, undertake affirmative duties to root out discrimination in their own workplaces and their processes. This is essentially an invitation to discrimination.
Yep.
And the message is that it's open season on Black workers. And, you know, look, federal contractors represent 1/5 of the entire U.S. workforce. So this has massive implications for everyday working Black people.
And let's be real clear, which people
Let's
don't seem to
what did you
understand.
say?
1/5 of the entire U.S. workforce. So this has massive implications.
1/5 of the entire U.S. workforce. So it is, you know, like he said, it's inviting people to discriminate because the measures that were in place were discouraging people from discriminating. Removing them only invites them to discriminate and have the same conversation that they already lost last time. But you know, just fighting that in the court could take 4, 5, maybe 6 years, maybe longer. It's not guaranteed that it can just something can be fixed in a year or two. No. It could be stopped, but there could be judges that want to hear the case. And when judges want to hear a case, when they think there's enough there to want to hear
is
it, that could take years and years.
Federal contractors no longer have to undertake affirmative duties to root out discrimination in their own workplaces and their processes. This is essentially an invitation to discrimination.
Yep.
And the message is that it's open season on Black workers. And, you know, look, federal contractors represent 1/5 of the entire U.S. workforce. So this has massive implications for everyday working Black people.
And let's be real clear, which people don't seem to understand. Republicans used to support the civil rights laws. But when Barry Goldwater's book, The Conscience of a Conservative, came out, that flipped it. And then they opposed the Civil Rights Act. You've had conservatives and Republicans who have been saying that a person should be allowed to discriminate. And so that's really what this is about. They do not want to be held to the laws, the civil rights statute saying you cannot discriminate in the hiring. What they're saying is we want to be able to hire anybody we want to, and this is a burden telling us that we can't that we can't discriminate against somebody Black or Latino or Asian or somebody who's a woman. That's what this is really all about.
Yeah, we're going to enter a period as follows. Number one, we're going to remind folks of the facts on the ground, but also the law, because no matter what Trump says in an executive order, that doesn't change Title VII. That's the law of employment discrimination. That law was not changed by a Supreme Court decision. That law has remained the same for a very long time. And so these employers have affirmative obligations. What this EO from 1965, the year after the Civil Rights Act, did was it added a layer of protection. It added a layer of affirmative duty for federal contractors to make sure that they were complying with Title VII. So
you hear that? So to make sure that they were complying. So Title VII without teeth does nothing. And they have just removed the teeth of Title VII. Title VII is still in place, but it doesn't really have the same amount of teeth. So basically, I don't understand this myself, but I don't understand why anyone would want those teeth removed. Because let's be honest, if you don't park your car correctly, you get a financial penalty. Those are the teeth to make sure you don't do it again. Or that, the government is compensated when they have to send people out to ticket you, change your vehicle, remind you every day that you can't just do things the way you want to, only that there's laws in place already. Well, that ticket is the teeth. They don't just give you a warning, they give you a ticket, a penalty, and they use some of that money to further the anti-discriminatory practices, to further the goal of abolishing and exterminating discrimination. You see what I mean? Well, they've just removed these teeth now, and we already know how it's going to play out. Most democratic states and businesses, and on a state level, this doesn't affect the state level, right? I'm not sure about police or firemen, but certain actually, I want to look into that. 5% of the workforce. I'm not sure how far that goes into state government, but it's inviting everyone to play a part. Now, in democratic states, they usually have they're very progressive in the idea that they understand anti-discriminatory practices, and they understand the need for guidelines and things like this to make sure that companies are not discriminating. They understand how that helps the society stay together, because obviously when people just openly discriminate against each other, that doesn't help your trash get picked up. That doesn't help any other government agency function well. No, it actually harms all government agencies. It harms private industry, even just how they work together, things being done effectively. When you have unhappy workers that are treated poorly, they don't tend to do their job well for others, even though they have a title, and that's what this is about, just basic worker rights, but it's Title 17. Let's listen.
So we're probably going to enter.
A lot of people don't think this could affect them until they see someone that looks like them being affected or sounds like them being affected. But make no mistake about it. Although you don't hear you don't hear a lot of other people complaining as much right now, it's likely because they're not as organized. It's not because they don't care. It's likely because they're lacking some real organization, and you hear it from people that are like on Roland. You hear it from African Americans a lot. But to be honest with you, African Americans politically are very, very organized in the United States. Again, less percentage of African Americans than other groups voted for Trump. So that means politically they're organized. And this is what you're hearing. You're hearing how well they're organized. But it doesn't mean that others shouldn't be. It doesn't mean that Hispanics in some areas aren't organized, or Indian people, Pakistani people, or people with different backgrounds, Italian Americans, Irish American, whatever you want to call it, Native American, right? It doesn't mean that there's not other groups that are organized. But, I'm just saying, a lot of people weren't worried about Trump this time. You would think that being organized and informed would make you worry, but a lot of people didn't for some reason. Or we're going to find out. Maybe Elon Musk did something with the algorithms. We don't know yet. It takes time to investigate, but we're going to see.
period where this law will be in contest, a period of people talk about rapid evolution. This could be rapid devolution of
what's the
workplace
word?
culture, of open season on Black workers and brown workers. And so we're going to have to meet these people in the courts of public opinion, but also in the courts of law.
Ron.
Right. Yeah. What's the word? Thank you, sister, for coming through. And also, Queen Goddess, thank you for coming through also. Yeah, let's see
I
what
want to
they
go
gotta
to
say here.
you. When the idiot Trump was there last time, you and I talked, and they stopped collecting racial data, correct?
Correct.
So the problem.
You see, they had stopped collecting racial data. Now, the United States of America, this is what I want my listeners to know, because you're not being told this by other people. This is definite. And you need to know your place in the world, how relevant your argument is to other people. Now, the United States, oddly enough, is one of the only countries that signed the CERD 34, which is an anti discrimination directive towards people of African descent or Black people, people that identify as Black or can be victims of anti Black racism, even if you don't. There's charters in the UN for these particular people. And in that charter that's called CERD 34, it calls for nations to live up to their expectations and do what, this DEI stuff that they claim Biden and Harris were up to. It calls for nations to do that, nations that signed. Well, one of the things that you do is collect data on race, not that you're claiming that they are this race. No, but under the guidelines, it's called the perception of race. It's about how other people perceive you and acknowledging that other people perceive these people that look like Roland definitely, absolutely as Black in America, in the world. That's how it's been since the 1300s. You see what I mean? When this identity emerged, largely to Westerners and other people, they've always had a term for people that look like this. And that's what it's called. Now, there's human right directives to combat discrimination against this particular group that has these coily hairs, these maybe brown, darker skin hues, maybe different lip texture or nose texture, this kind of thing. You know what I'm trying to say, right? It's not one color. No, it's not the color black. It's the people that are called that. So they could be brown, they could be dark brown, they could be light brown, they could be cocoa, they could be all kinds of stuff. But they have human rights directives about this. But the U.S. is one of the only few nations, Western nations, that actually does take the data on Black people, so you can know how many are employed, know how many own homes, know how many get bank loans to own homes, know how many are in student debt, know how many have a job that pays over a certain amount of money. The U.S. has been one of the countries that does that. A lot of other nations don't do it. And by the way, the nation that I live in, Denmark, doesn't do it. Although I would have to say discrimination is not on the same heightened level, thankfully, but that is not cause for not investigating according to the UN. It is not. You still need to be doing affirmative actions, investigating, surveys. And the US was really good at that. But look, y'all, while you guys have been championing this thing for everyone else, to raise awareness for everyone else, they're about to take it away from you, because taking away this DEI stuff is not just it's not just saying, hey, you don't get the contract because you're Black. I don't have to give it to you. I don't have to think about this. Only white men here, and that's not a problem. Even if you're a white lady, Black lady, or anybody else, it doesn't matter. Gender does not matter. Period. We are gender blind. Even if they say that to you, that's not proof. That's not affirmative proof that there's no discrimination going on. So that's where the surveys and data comes in. Now check this
Problem
out.
is time.
Public opinion, but also in courts of law.
Ron, I want to go to you. When the idiot Trump was there last time, you and I talked, and they stopped collecting racial data, correct?
Correct.
So the problem is We will, and it go to you. When the idiot Trump was there last time, you and I talked, and 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 they stopped collecting racial data. Correct.
Correct.
So the problem is, we didn't know.
Now you see, you hear this? That's actually goes against CERD 34. That's any people's human rights. Um, you know, the committee for the elimination of what is it called? So racial of racial discrimination, CERD, the CERD group. That's a UN group dealing specifically with discrimination, racial hate, these kind of things, which are crimes. You know, surveying is one of the first things you're supposed to be doing to combat discrimination. That is a treaty that the United States signed, and the United States didn't even sign it early. Let me see here, sir. Let me just look this up for y'all because I don't want to say any mistakes. But um, the ICERD, and then they have smaller certs that come out for each group that you have to follow up on. But the head charter is called the ICERD, and the ICERD. Let's see here. UN ICERD. When was it signed? Let me just check this out here. I'm drinking my coffee, so I'm working with one hand here. Okay, now it was first. They first held the ratification assembly in 1965. Obviously, you could notice the time relevance of that, right? Um, yeah, racial discrimination was alive and still it will always be alive, yo. Just like many different forms of discrimination will always be alive, but we can work to limit them and or eliminate them. You still have to work to do that. Um, when did the USA sign it? Let me see here. When did I think Denmark, my country I'm in, they had ratified it. It was already national law by 1970 or 1969. Um, when did the USA sign and ratify? Let me see here. When did the USA sign? Right. That's 1994. You see, that's during Reagan era. Now, so the U.S. did not sign when other nations signed to it, and but the U.S. did finally sign 30 damn years later, 1994. That's Reagan, Clinton, close to Reagan Clinton somewhere era, right? Now, now if you go to uh, racial data, the United States started signing it. And so you started, let me see, racial data collection. The United States actually started collecting racial data before even this treaty came out. Collection USA. Now, so the US has been doing this for some years, but let's see here. Every 10 years, right? Every 10 years they collect this and they do it in numerous ways. And for some reason, a lot of people were not worried about this, or a lot of people didn't think about this. But the categories that they collect racial data for are the top 15, right? Um, are for white people, white Americans, Black or African American, American Indian or Alaskan Native. And if any other group wishes to be acknowledged, they need to do their work and communicate with the United Nations, okay, or communicate with the U.S. government. But you know, if it's regarding your human rights, you probably wouldn't want to evade and avoid the one organization chartered for dealing with human rights stuff, and that is first the UN. You know, states and member states like the U.S. they usually follow along. You know, they're part of that UN conversation and follow along with the outcomes. But then you have after American, Indian, and Alaskan Native, you have Asians, you You have Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander. These are separate categories. Ethnicity is a separate category with distinctions for Hispanic or Latino and non-Hispanic. So there's some variations too. It's not like you just check one and then that's it. I'm white, zero. It could say white something else, white this, white that, black, Asian. This kind of distinctions can also be made, but they're made, right? Controversies and challenges, accuracy. Okay, there's an issue of accuracy, but how do organizations work with that? It means you get data from different organizations working in similar areas, and you compare the data to find out what data holds up and what data doesn't hold up. And usually they take the strongest outcomes, not just things that are frail or hard to prove, right? That don't become clear in the data. Private concerns, privacy concerns. Some individuals worry about how racial data might be. Yeah, some people worry about that. But again, um, you got to choose. Do you want to be colorblind? Do you want to be gender blind? Is that what Trump people are out to do? Or do they want to be gender blind? Like, do they not want to think about how many women work in the government? Do they not want to know how many men work in the government? Do they not want to know how many handicapped people work in the government? Do they not? Because that also applies. Now, even though they say racial discrimination, now handicapped people apply. Yes, you can't discriminate against them, right? They have UN CERD articles also. You see what I'm saying? Every group of people has this. Now, so the US knows about this, and the US has been participating even more, in some ways, more than other countries. So this would be a rollback of a lifestyle that people have had that I don't think people are prepared for, because a lot of people don't realize the benefits of anti discrimination charters and practices that they've been receiving, that they are the benefactors of. People just think about the bad things that happen and how the system is not perfect, how the system still fails. But understand this, the system has been doing some things, and those things that the system has been doing, Donald Trump is trying to remove those things actively. I know y'all can't read what I'm reading here, see, but I'm going to drop this down here and in the chat so people can see what I've been reading up on, which is the UN CERD directive. So the ICERD and the UN CERD 34 directive. You can follow it up from there. Now let me go back to Roland and see what they've been chatting about here. Let's see here. Boom.
Know what was happening. We didn't know what contracting was happening. We didn't know who was it getting. We didn't know if it was an increase or a decrease. And that had, so that they stopped collecting racial data across the board. Correct.
Correct.
So when it came to, then what they did was they started bundling contracts instead of typically what happens on the Democrats. They unbundled. The only Republican who actually understood the unbundling of contracts was actually George W. Bush. And so typically Republicans, they bundle them back. And so really what we're seeing here with the attacks on, when we see these executive orders, couple that with last year, those federal judges ruling MBDA and also the AA program, what this means, and this is what I kept warning people during the campaign, even now, what they're doing is this is going to have direct impact on Black businesses getting contracts. Correct?
People don't understand that. And as we have been talking, and I know you have been saying it, Roland, voting and elections have consequences. And we have been saying for years, and we saw it during his first term, he tried to come out with the ban on Muslims. He got caught up in the process of George Floyd, and it took his attention away from his original plans. This time he came out the gate making it very clear that he was concerned about his supporters, about his billionaire friends and trillionaire friends, and making sure that the programs and the conversations that he talked about during his first term were going to be implemented immediately upon his inauguration. And we have seen that happen already.
And again, I want to reiterate this. And this is for all of the Simple Simon Negroes who won social media, who were doing radio, television interviews, talking about Trump is going to be putting money in our pockets and how all these things are going to be going down. What they need to understand is that
they got used. They got used. These people, black folk that were supporting Trump, people like Tariq Nasheed, even though he claims he wasn't, there's a lot of them. They all claim they weren't supporting Trump, but we're not dumb. We know how politics works in the U.S. of all nations. It's a couple political parties, Democrat and Republican, and then there's some independents or whatever. But the independents don't have a chance in hell because they just don't have the numbers. There's not the numbers coming out doing anything for independents. Independents usually join with Democrats because they are the smallest group. That's what they usually do. They're not championing any bills through numbers. They don't have as many representatives in the House. They have a problem getting support from the public, the independents. But a lot of these guys, they claim to have been independents and they voting for people like this guy RFK, who doesn't want vaccines or doesn't even understand. Forget whether you want vaccines or not. He don't even understand vaccines. That's the worst part about it. You don't understand vaccines is just designed to assist the herding process. Herding is going to happen whether you use vaccines or not. The problem is how many of you are going to die? How many of you are not strong enough to even live? Do you know how many millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people would be dead if they didn't come up with that COVID vaccine? I'm talking about just in the United States alone, millions and millions of more people would have died. Yeah, sure, you would still get the herding. The people that lived without the vaccine, they would have developed immunities and their immunities would be strong too. And that would spread to other people through the cough. Then you would get the same virus they had. And hopefully you will get it from them with some stronger immunities. Somehow the weaker version of the virus would spread because, that's the only one alive, right? Because all the strong people have killed off the strong version of the virus, right? Well, we know that's bullshit. It wouldn't happen that way. A lot of people would die. So you need the vaccines to help the herding process, to isolate the weakest form of the virus so they can infect people with the weakest form of the virus. So your immunity own natural immunity can have a victory over the virus. And then you can spread that onto other people. That's basically all it is. But you heard people just going haywire over that. Well, and thinking that RFK knows something about it. He knows nothing about it. In fact, he was spreading lies about it. And it's a similar tactic that they do with a lot of these appointees here. But back to this.
What they are doing is they are going after the money.
They're going after the money. And since a lot of people, particularly, I would have to say black people, largely in the United States, seem that one of the tactics they use against black people is to hold up like a dollar sign, here a cash. Here, let me show you a picture of some cash money. Let me show you a picture of some cash money right here. And a lot of people just they just jump on that and they think because they saw a bundle. Well, you can't see the difference between a bundle of $100 bills and a bundle of $100 bills, not from the side. And a lot, and that's not even the point. The point is that cash money, paper money, tends to look like a lot when really it can be very little, actually, compared to what the value of something is. It shouldn't always be expressed in a cash bundle, but a lot of people think that way because the only time they experience having money is when it's in cash in their hand. Like, here's the cash. I bought something. Boom. That's the extent of their enjoyment of their money. But what if your money is too much to be, shown in cash money? There's loads of people like that. $1 million, $2 million in cash. Yo, that's a whole lot of paper sitting around, right? So real money to real folks can't be summed up the same way. It has to be examined differently. And this is what they're talking about. When they say they're going after the money, they're going after the contracts, your pocket, your job, your business, The business that you bragged about and said, hey, I'm self-employed. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm this and that. I got, you know how you do it? Yo, what you need is you don't have to worry about voting. What you need is a government contract. If you were smart, you would get one of them government contracts. Well, that's what Trump is about to remove. Trump is removing. He's not about to. He's going to put that shit on delay for 4 years and see if you can survive it. And guess what? Tariq Nasheed, did you talk to your black folk about that? No. Black supporters of Trump, did you talk to the black community about that? Did you talk to them about that? How many of the businessmen in your communities have government contracts? Small ones. They could be to pick up trash. They start there. Do you know how many, do you understand Martin Luther King's marches began with the trash collectors saying they want a fair wage? That's where he started. That was his first rally, the trash men, because the black trash men were not getting paid the same salary as the white trash men. Do you understand, without data, racial data regarding the trash workers, the trash contracts, you won't know who's being treated fairly and who's not? Don't you understand that? So this is what they're talking about. And I find this one most compelling based on what certain black men largely say. And it's okay to be wrong if you can admit that you're wrong about something. But if you can't admit that there's something wrong here, there's something wrong with you. Because in my mind, this is speaking to the heart of those black men. Just like Roland Martin said, he may not have said men, but listen to this. Listen to what he said. And everybody's heard this. If you've been on the net, you heard this excuse.
Doing radio, television, the simple. And again, I want to reiterate this. And this is for all of the Simple Simon Negroes who on social media, who were doing radio, television interviews, talking about Trump is going to be on of the simple. And again, I want to reiterate this. And this is for all of the Simple Simon Negroes who on social media, who were doing radio, television interviews, talking about Trump is going to be putting money in our pockets and how all these things going to be going down. What they need to understand is that what they're doing is they're going after the money. And then when they target Walmart, when they target McDonald's, when they target corporate America, they're not just saying, oh, let's get rid of these DEI offices. They're going after supply diversity, or what John Rogers with Arrow Capital calls business diversity.
You see? So a lot of folks, I don't know why people weren't concerned. There were people concerned, but I don't know why there's this minority of unconcerned people. And I think some investigations are going to follow up on this to determine what the ultimate facts are. It does take time to investigate things, but for some reason, there's a percentage of the U.S. population that did not vote. Whether they were hindered from voting through the gerrymandering, messing with with your rights in terms of changing your rights every year. Oh, well, this year you got to have an ID. Last year you didn't. This year you got to go to this place. Last year you had to go to another place. Gerrymandering. This time you need to be registered at the place that's on your ID, actually living there when you take a vote. It can't be that you just moved 2 weeks ago or last month and didn't have time to change it. No, this is gerrymandering. These kind of things affect a lot of voters, because in other countries, like the country I'm in, Denmark, I don't have to worry about my address. There's only one person with my social security number that can vote. Once you use it twice, it's eliminated. The only person that gets the invitation is in a private secured mail from the government. Why doesn't the US do that? Well, what's up? I mean, the US system is big, but instead of making it more possible for a person to vote with one social security number, instead of making it that that person can show up with a social security card or just one ID, these people can't figure out loads of things. If they want it like this, if they want it like that, they don't want it to work, which is why they keep changing it. So the ultimate effect is that some of these non-voters are people that just wanted to vote but didn't have the means to because of all the gerrymandering, but which is interfering with the processes of voting, changing the processes of voting, making it too complicated for a person to just go out, spend a day, spend 30 minutes and fucking vote. You shouldn't have to spend hours standing in a line. You shouldn't have to do all. When is the last time you think I stood in a line to vote? You think people are, sure, if you show up to the place where they tell you to go and there's a line, great. Sure, if you can get through that line in a half an hour, that's excellent. That's no problem. 15 minutes would be even better. You see what I mean? But if it's over a half an hour, or if it's something complicated in your state about knowing easily where the voting precinct place is to show up, if that is something you're experiencing that seems to be changing every 6 months, every 3 months, every election, then what you have is gerrymandering. What you have is intent to confuse and complicate voting, right? Now, but some of these people just did not vote at all. Some of these people just are like suicidal when it comes to self harm. Like some of these people that didn't vote literally don't care about themselves until the writing is on the wall. And that's what we got to take responsibility for. Those people that could have voted, that didn't have a whole lot of gerrymandering going on, you know, that just didn't show up. Now, keep in mind, if you know you're in the fight of your life, and the last time you voted, you spent an hour, but this time you know you're in the fight of your life and you got to vote, you might want to spend 2 hours, you know, it might matter to you, right? Because this is how your society is governed for sure. No one else outside of these processes is coming up to save your life. That's called luck. You might have that. But, you know, when you're talking about the government, we're not talking about luck. We're talking about taxpayer dollars that come out of your earnings, your paycheck, income tax, state and federal. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about luck. We're not talking about likability. We're talking about whether you're ugly, fat, slim, tall, short, crooked, buck teeth, straight hair, kinky hair, broad nose, skinny nose, whether you can't, you know, get your ass off of the dope today or to get up and vote, or whether you can. We're talking about all these people, right? All these people will be paying that income tax, or you are going to be whipped. That's what we're talking about. You are going to be penalized heavily. All the people that pay income tax, if you did not vote, you chose the wrong time, because sure, things will turn back around. But why would you purposely give yourself a 10-year layoff? Why would you purposely put yourself 10 years behind? Why would you purposely want that? Why would anyone want that? And that is exactly what electing Trump pretty much does. Even when you get the next administration in, they will have to do many, many executive orders. But what about the rollout? What about the implementation? That takes time. What about the courts? The court that's going to battle it. A lot of these executive orders are going to the courts to be battled. That takes time. out of your life. How many years of your life do you have, the average person? You're going to get, if you're lucky and you're a man, you will get up to 80. Most men don't live that long. Women, they will get into their 85, 90s, maybe 10 years longer on average, right? Men, you just wasted 10, you black men, you have just wasted 10 years of your life. That's what Trump is. It's a pill you're going to have to swallow. Other men from other groups, you did too. White men, and I hate to talk about, but y'all, you guys, man, you guys voted for a billionaire who had zero intent on helping your broke white ass. How dumb can you be? You're just as dumb. You are just as dumb because just like a black man is supposed to know who is racially discriminating against him and has bad intent towards him and others like him, it's your responsibility to know that. Just like that, for white men, it's your responsibility to know when a billionaire shows up and says, "Hey, y'all, I'm going to change all this, but first, let's get the billionaires a tax cut." You're supposed to know that's not happening. That's not how it works. White men, you're supposed to be smart enough to know that, but you don't. You don't know that. You are also pathetic, even more, and dumb and ignorant. Where else? Look at the countries where they trust billionaires to run it, and then look at what happens with their economies. It's not the first time in history. It's happening every 4 goddamn years. Just take a look around. Billionaire media dude in Italy, right? How many Berlusconi? How many years was he there? How many prostitutes did he have? How strong did the economy do? It's not the worst economy on earth, but it damn sure ain't doing that great. Italy's economy. See, where you have these type of corrupt leaders, billionaires, they tend to not increase the GDP in a way that is felt by the average person. If they do increase it at all, that money usually bypasses all the average people and just goes right into the rich folks' pockets. Let's say the rich folk transported 5 tons of coal. Well, the guy who owns that got 90% of the profits or 80% of the profits, and the rest of y'all that helped move the coal got pennies. People that dug the coal up got pennies. People that transported the coal to the train station got pennies. The people that transported the coal to the air, to the sea vessel, the ship, got pennies. To put it on the ship, pennies. Off the ship, pennies. Float over the sea, pennies. Burnt up to you, deliver it to your door so you could have something to burn in the winter, pennies. You see, those are what the billionaire politicians tend to get the average folk. Pennies, if anything. If not pennies, a loss of income. You see, so this is going to be a hit for all people. And I'm just saying, I'm not, I'm only pointing this out because it's only right to point it out. I'm an American citizen, but I don't actually live in the US. I live in one of the other Western countries, one of the other Western countries that has universal health care, one of the Western countries where everyone that's working has a pension, one of the Western countries where everyone that has a job has 5 weeks paid vacation, one of the Western countries where you don't pay to go to school, you get paid to go to school. So I have an obligation to tell my fellow Americans what's happening with other people's tax dollars in wealthy nations, wealthy NATO nations. See, you don't get to be a wealthy NATO nation if you're not part of the top class of wealth on earth. And with this top class of wealth on earth, the far majority of them choose to do is to pay their people to get educated. They tend to want everyone to have universal health care. They tend to want everyone to have 5 weeks paid leave vacation. They tend to want people to have childcare. I'm talking about the rich nations. The United States is the only one that doesn't seem to want to do that. That doesn't seem to fit that profile. You see, so why is that? Because the people in these other nations are voting differently. They don't agree with the U.S. assessment or the Republican assessment of what socialism is. They don't even call these nations socialist. The U.S. is calling capitalistic nations socialist just because they got goddamn healthcare and education. What the fuck? You all should be up in arms about this. Like, let me tell you, United States citizen, you are about to get your ass kicked. And I have to say it in plain language because when people have been saying it for a year, giving you excellent descriptions, respectful description, detail orientated and comprehensive descriptions, it didn't work. You didn't understand it. You didn't comprehend it. And I don't know if it's a separation between the language, not understanding the technical language, political language, business and professional language, or if it's just that you don't understand, something more, like just nothing about how your own government works, local government. If you don't know how local government works, you don't know how the federal government works either. And if you don't know how the federal government works, you don't know how the local government works either, because they work in conjunction with each other. You need to know both, or you may as well scrap it. And it appears that a lot of Americans have scrapped it a whole lot. But I don't want to take too much time on Roland. Let me drop the link to where Roland is dropping this knowledge at. It's on his own network, the Black Star Network, and hope people check it out. They're giving some real expert commentary right now that you're not always going to get on legacy media. I mean, you're not going to get this on legacy media at all. Not this one, not this breakdown. Because this breakdown is particular and concerning to a segment which Roland called out. That is the Black MAGA supporter. If we vote for Trump, Trump going to line our pockets, y'all. Trump, man, he going to put more money in our pocket. Remember that COVID check? Yeah, he's speaking to y'all, even though that's not why you voted for him. People just say, remember that COVID check. But we know damn well, it's not just the COVID check. These people were made to believe that somehow they would literally get more money in their pockets if you cut programs, which is dumb. That's not how your society works. That's not how wealthy societies work. See, wealthy societies get the basic shit done anyway. That's why you're wealthy. When was the last time you seen a wealthy person complaining about clean water? A wealthy person complaining about potholes? A wealthy person complaining about education? They're not complaining about it because they get all this shit. They don't need that. They don't need care if there's a bump in the road. They ain't taking the car. They're flying. They're taking a helicopter. The average American is not getting on no helicopter to go to work, not getting on a helicopter to do a damn thing. The average American is getting on the bus, subway, or in their damn car that they really should not want to spend that much time in, but that they have a loan on, that they pay exorbitant fees, energy fees to drive in because policymakers haven't decided that diverse energy brings energy costs down. There's some Republican politicians that just haven't figured that out. And there's some supporters of their politics that just haven't figured out the conjunction there. I'm gonna let this play, but hold on, let me see.
And so what we are going to see, and Black people need to wake up over the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years, we're going to see a material decrease in billions of dollars flowing to Black-owned businesses who largely employ Black people, who fund HBCUs and Black interests. And so that is going to...
it's a lot of Black businesses, people going to go out of business. And not just Black people, other folks too, that fall in the same similar economic bracket and similar political situation. And that's women, minority women, largely, and minority men. But then there's also women in general. There's also others, everybody, handicapped people, just different types of people that if they were operating businesses and functioning well just because of anti-discrimination laws, right, and practices, those people are about to take a financial hit. That financial hit is going to lead to less home buying. Less home buying is going to lead to a housing bubble. Housing bubble is going to lead to, a deficit, or even worse. You see, so people need to understand that politics play out. It takes time for politics to play out. So, you know, 4 years, yeah, and about a year from now, you're gonna see people going to about a year from now, a lot of people that had these businesses and things like that and contracts and didn't appreciate them because they didn't want to back it up with a vote, they're gonna find out that damn, my plan for paying this house off so fast, it just now is going to take me double the time. It's going to take me 5 more years. So that new investment I wanted to make, I'm going to have to wait 5 more years on that. Damn, that timing sucks because if I would have bought it this year, it would have been perfect as far as the money. But folks ain't going to experience that now. A lot of people are going to miss out. Hey, Andrea, I see you. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But let me drop the link too, because I want to see what Andrea got to say. If you want to hop up, otherwise I'm going to be on later on today too. It's my weekend. I had the weekend, all 4 weekends off this weekend, so or this month. So I'm happy about that. But yo, again, this segment on Roland Martin, everybody needs to watch. That is, if you're a black businessman, if you're a black homeowner, if you're a minority homeowner, if you're a minority business person, if you're a woman business person, if you're a minority woman business person, if you're a handicapped person that's in business or not. These, people that own homes and are in business, if you're black, because that's not everybody. A lot of minorities own zero homes. You see what I'm saying? But some do. Some have worked their way and fought their way into a situation where they own a home, and maybe own a business. Two, those two things are called ownership. That's something real, especially if it's paid off, right? But or it's functioning within its where the way it's supposed to. If it's doing its job, it's a positive. But this segment, forget the poor, because the poor are going to feel it even worse. But this segment of the population that own businesses because they had government contracts, or own homes because they had businesses that had government contracts, you're about to take a hit. And when you take a hit, you fall down. And this middle class is going to fall down on the lower class. See, the lower class are going to be more crunched than ever. Folks haven't even gotten to them. So if you're one of those people on welfare, government assistance, food checks or food, card, you got to make room. Some other people are needed. If you live in one of those states that's not so understanding, I hope you do well. I mean, I myself am from Washington D.C., so it's a pretty democratic stronghold. They somewhat, better than others understand some kind of social justice. But yo, there's problems there. I mean, but folks ain't trying to be poor in D.C., so they raise a little bit of noise sometimes. They ain't trying to be broke. You can't be broke in D.C. So, and everybody knows that, from the mayor to the city council to, you know what I'm saying? So they have one of the highest minimum wages in the country. You work at Walmart, you might be getting $15 an hour in DC. Oh, speaking on that, let me flip over to Costco. I heard that Costco, they rejected Trump's bullshit DEI thing. They said they totally happy with it. Customers are happy with it, and they're moving right ahead with it. Let me dig that up too while we're here. I'm gonna let this play a little bit more while I dig that up.
To be the direct impact of what Trump and the Republicans are currently doing.
Let me make it more clear. During Obama's first term in office, the goal for minority spend was roughly 5%. He surpassed that and hit 7%. His second term in office, the goal was then 7%. He surpassed that goal and hit 9%. If you heard when President Biden got in office, the goal was to go from 11% to 15%. That scared the nation. What we found out was, as you've been discussing, the disaggregation of the numbers, because they will tell you it's 11%, 9%, 5%. But as you have just mentioned, we never knew what that meant to the Black community. And so during this last administration under President Biden, we said we were interested in three things. Intentionality. Let us know what you were doing for the Black community. We wanted transparency. We wanted to know what the percentage meant for Black businesses, and then we wanted accountability. We wanted to know, okay, if they're not hitting the numbers, how can we motivate them, and what can we do to improve the conditions for Black-owned businesses? And so the reason why MBDA, Minority Business Development Agency, was the first place to go under attack is because while we were there, the goal was to get the increase for Black businesses from 1.5% of the entire country spend to 3%. I had Black people fighting back on us saying, well, why 3%? Why not 13% or 10%? Understand this. Of the $960 billion that the country spends every year, $640 billion is set aside for products and services that all of us can apply, compete for. Of that,
so hold on. The $960 billion, that's what the federal government spends.
That's what the federal government.
Go ahead.
$640 billion is really available because the other portion is for the military. So of that $640 billion, 11% of that goes towards minority firms. But I want your audience to understand who is included in that minority. The second thing I want them to understand is it did not come out easily in reference to the disaggregation of the numbers. It was leaked out. And so once it was leaked out, the federal government had to address it.
In terms of the disaggregation of numbers, what that means is that they didn't want to let you know what groups got that money. They wanted to clump all these different groups up into one group. So they just say, these minorities got this money. They don't want you to know how many of what minority got what and how, right? And not sure why they chose to do that, but disaggregating data is highly important when it comes to having a comprehensive look into different groups of people. When it comes to working with discrimination, if you don't disaggregate data, you can't know who's being affected most. You can't. And that's just a basic 101 when it comes to data production. And yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even know this little caveat he's dropping off.
And what we found is that of the 11%, the Asian community received 1.8% of the minority spend. They had the fewest number of businesses registered to do business with the federal government, but that's fine. They had large contracts. The Hispanic communities received 1.71% of the minority spend. Black business community had the largest number of businesses that were registered and certified to do business with the federal government.
So, you hear that? We're going to play this back. Just so the people who didn't vote for Kamala Harris understand the effects of them not voting for Kamala Harris. Because, see, the Democratic Party is a party. Kamala Harris, Biden, or whatever, there's going to be certain things baked in the cake, like what they're talking about. Because that's their whole motto, the Democratic Party: equality, equity, inclusion, better for everyone, not just some people, everybody, because they're not telling you this is just the minority. When you look at the non-minority contracts, they far outweigh anybody else. So again, we're talking about combating discrimination, and we're talking about being active in doing that, and action that does uh, combat discrimination, right? In terms of the contracts being given out, this is very important to have disaggregated data, and yeah, and to take interest in the data. But
We received 1.5%.
so, so we're the largest group of recipients, right? And that's going to be cut. So, in other words, if you were black, a black business person, you just got chumped. You just got suckered. If you were out there claiming to be supporting Trump, you just got suckered because you just risked your whole group, the the future of your own group on a whim. On what? For what? What was the reasoning behind it? Um, I think it's disinformation. I think the reasoning behind it really largely is disinformation, but disinformation doesn't work if your group is not already primed to receive the type of disinformation, you know? And I think a lot of people were primed because they don't take politics serious. They don't take their vote serious. They go about it the lazy way. And when you go about it the lazy way, you have lazy ideas in your mind about how it works. And and it's going to take some time to get these people to wrap their heads around what this brother right here is saying, you know. And I'm really grateful that I tuned into this episode of Rolling because I like to hear comprehensive discussions from people that know what the fuck they're talking about, things you can bet on, things you can lay some money down on. You see what I'm saying? Because someone has looked into it in detail, you know. That should be what we all require, what we will all celebrate, what we all would want. And apparently people aren't used to getting this kind of comprehensive detail every day, because if they did, they would be sucking up what this brother said so fast, they would be absorbing it like a sponge, and the choices would become instantly easy then. You know, who to vote for wouldn't be so hard then. You know, Kamala Harris might have got your vote.
The least of all of the ethnic communities. And so you ask yourself, well, where is the spin going? White women, not women, white women received 78% of all of the minority spend. So people are saying, well, Ron, what do you guys do?
78%. So, but white women didn't vote for it. They were the group that voted the least for it, the most for Trump. So, you know, I mean, they don't want it. But as you know how discrimination works, if the main discriminator is your husband, you know, you probably have a little less to be concerned about in terms of the effects of your life. You're still going to come home into a house that is paid for. You're still going to, you know, largely, I'm not saying all, but largely, you know, the effects are less. But hey, we going to see. We going to see. We're going to see if how white women enjoy the next 2-3 years, you know, because let's be honest, it's not worth just knowing how one segment of the population finds things to be. No, it's good to have things to compare, comparative data, to compare it to other groups, to get a full understanding of how things are working, how things are happening. You see, yeah, some qualification there, you know, to back it up even further, you know. Yeah, this is bizarre. But let me cut this off. I put this in the chat. Let me just make sure I got this YouTube thing up. Did I drop that in the chat? Okay, let me see here. Roland. Let me also type that up here because damn, I was surprised about this one. Roland Martin. I don't always get a chance to catch it live, but I did. Roland Martin. Check out this episode, y'all. Um, it's worth it for the viewers. Here we go. There it is. Let me put that back up there. Now, let me switch over to Costco. Yeah, Costco, they went against the trend. So look at this. This is one day ago. They made an announcement. And kudos to Costco, you know. Let's see here.
Costco shareholders rejected a proposal from a conservative think tank to report on the potential risks of the company's diversity initiatives. The proposal involved the company's diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. Costco leaders say the programs are important, ensuring all employees feel included and valued. The vote came just days after President Trump's executive order to end DEI in all federal government sectors.
Let me play that back one more time.
They don't want what we know.
Shareholders rejected a proposal from a conservative think tank to report on the potential risks of the company's diversity initiatives. The proposal involved the company's diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. Costco leaders say the programs are important, ensuring all employees feel included and valued. The vote came just days after President Trump's executive order to end DEI in all federal government. Costco shareholders rejected a proposal from a conservative think tank to report on the potential risks of the company's diversity initiatives. The proposal involved the company's diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. Costco leaders say the programs are important, ensuring all employees feel included and valued. The vote came just days after President Trump's executive order to end DEI in all federal government sectors.
Right. So it affects the contracts. It affects.
They don't want what we know out there.
Hold on. Let me see here. It affects people differently. Now, let me just cut over to this one and let's see here. It says, yes, Costco has maintained its commitment. Wait a second. Can y'all see this? Yeah, Costco has maintained its commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI initiatives, despite recent political pressures to eliminate such programs. This is a good lesson in understanding how what goes on the federal level hits the local level. Let's see here. Initiatives, despite recent political pressure to eliminate such programs. In January 2025, that's just the other day, the 21st, President Donald Trump issued an executive order directing federal agencies to terminate DEI programs and encourage private companies to follow suit. You see that? And encourage. Now you see, this is very interesting too, because they're not legally bounded companies to do a goddamn thing based on this directive from Trump. But he's encouraging them. So now he's interfering in other people's business. You see what I mean? He's attempting to. Well, he's not attempting to. He is. Because Trump does not have a successful business. These people do. Trump, stole tax dollars where his companies were in New York City. Costco hasn't. You see, and other companies haven't. So let's take a look. In response, a proposal was presented to Costco's shareholders urging the company to assess potential risk associated with its DEI efforts. However, this proposal was overwhelmingly rejected, with 98% of shareholders voting against it. Wow, I'm about to buy some stock in Costco, which I've never done before, but I do buy stock, but Costco is not one that I have done in, but I'm about to do that because I'm gonna tell you, y'all, they're about to get some more shoppers. I'm gonna tell you, and they got some people that support this DEI stuff are really gonna turn out for Costco. Costco sells gas, yes, y'all. They sell food. A lot of people are really happy with Costco. I mean, in terms of the options that they get to buy in bulk, save money, save here and there where they can, right? Through either buying in bulk or through, but usually buying in bulk. That's what Costco is, right? Collective bargaining. That's the term I'm looking for. That's what Costco is doing with the gas. That, you know, and that's why you see people going there to even to buy gas, because they're sharing the wealth with the people that buy and with their employees. That's what you see here. Oh, this is what I get out of it anyway. Um, this decision aligns with actions taken by other corporations such as J.P. Morgan Chase, which is a bank financial institution, which have also chose to uphold their DEI initiatives despite external pressures. You can find this article under the Business Insider uh, company, right? Media company. Companies fighting back against Trump's war on DEI. Let's read more about that. In contrast, some companies like Target have decided to scale back their DEI programs. Okay, so Target is going to be a place where folks is going to maybe step out of, right? Following the executive order. Who knows? But these are rights that people have. Like for me, I'm going to buy some Costco stock now, and I'm not going to buy no Target stock. That's what I'm saying, because I live in a place that has universal health care, so I understand the benefits of it. I live in a place where kids get paid to go to school, technical school, university, so I understand the benefits of it as an American citizen. So it's my obligation to help fill in the gaps for people that would not know some of the things I know. It's my responsibility to fill in the gaps where there's no lack of conversation regarding these things I'm saying, because other folks don't find it relevant enough. But I do. So I'm going to do it anyway. Um, Costco's stance reflects its dedication to fostering an inclusive workplace environment, recognizing the value of diversity in driving innovation and better decision making. For more insights, yeah, so there you have it. But let me look into this one right here. Let me open this up. I want to see what they say. Boom. Stop adding me to this stuff, man. Sometimes they, what is this? Oh, they want me to make a, Jesus Christ. Business Insider. Oh, I don't have a, man, get out of here. Forget it. Just get me out. Let me try to see if I can get beyond this. I'm not a robot. Let me just get rid of this. Here we go. Hopefully they don't try to get me to sign in now. Oh, come on, man. Let me see here. Let me see if they can pull up the text in here, because yeah, see, look. Let me see what they say here, if there's more to it. Okay, what? Let me see here. Who are the companies? Let me see if I can pull up another article with that. Okay, so let's see here. There's Costco, there's J.P. Morgan Chase, there's Pepsi, there's Procter and Gamble. Can y'all see this? Oh no, you can't see it. Let me pull it up. Here we go. Now y'all can see it. It says here, these are the major companies. There's obviously thousands more, but these are big ones, Fortune 500 companies. So let's see here. Several companies have pushed back against the former President Donald Trump's effort to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI initiatives. Folks, y'all, my advice is those that have a little, if you want to see these kind of DEI initiatives continue, I'm not saying that they won't continue with certain companies, because these are powerhouse companies. My advice, support these companies in the different ways. Shop at these companies or buy stock in these companies. Show these companies that you're interested in their having a permanent stay in business due to their practices. Costco recently rejected shareholder proposal to scale back the EI programs. Okay. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon has defended JP Morgan's DEI initiatives, highlighting their positive impact on innovation and profitability. See, when you have folks that understand folks, you have more business. When you have a limited access to a diverse work staff, you're going to have a limited access to folks patronizing your business too. That, would be one of the reasons why you might want to consider DEI is good. But just ask yourself, have you made money? And how is it that Target didn't make money? You know this is phony. You know this is phony. That's not the case that they didn't make money, although they might be trying to make that case to the public. But come on. These are Fortune 500 companies. How much do any of their CEOs get paid a year? You see what I'm saying? Like really, the major stockholders. I mean, it's crazy. We know Amazon didn't lose because Amazon's their CEO made more money than anybody in the history of mankind in 1 year. Basically, I'm exaggerating, but close to it. He made Elon Musk type of money. They all made money. So off of this. So what the heck are they? What is it? It's crazy, man. How can you make money and be against your own employees' environment? But that's what they're talking about. Pepsi Cola has publicly reaffirmed its dedication to DEI, citing a long-term strategy to support diversity in hiring. Yeah, they want to do more business with more people. Procter and Gamble. Okay, I'm going to go out and support some of these companies with some. I'm going to buy some stock today. Procter and Gamble, but I'm going to do some research, obviously, which is necessary. My own type of research. By the way, people that want to learn a little bit about stock investments or things like that, feel free to ask me because I do have a little knowledge about that, although I don't publicly show people what I invest in. Um, but if you're interested in something like that, let me know because there are real opportunities in real corporations for people to invest in stock that is affordable, that's within your reach. Some of these companies like Microsoft, they're already at 300, 400, damn near a share. Google, well, if you bought into them 10, 20 years ago, it wouldn't have been. It would have been like $10, $20, something affordable, right? A share. Um, well, there's newer companies that are starting off now that could use your $10 that in 10 years from now, it will be, it may be up 5 times more, 10 times more. You don't know, depending on the company, right? So it definitely has, there's definitely stock potentials out there for people, you know. Even Google is breaking into subsidiaries. A lot of companies are doing that now because they're having so much success. So they're giving people other ways to buy in without having to buy into their main stock. Maybe they can just buy into some limited features and things like that that they're implementing or something. Whatever their business is modeled after. But here we go. Starbucks is another one. Yeah, Nike is another one. Okay, I mean, I'm just saying, y'all. You can complain about it. Go out there and try to find a bad Nike story, and then be like, "Yeah, but see, Nike, man, they treated Kanye West bad." So, yeah, but Nike is going to defend still. You see, Kanye West was out there talking about MAGA. He's out there talking about Jews, Zionists, trying to own banks. He's trying to bring back Russian tropes from the good old imperial days of Russia. You know what I'm saying? Where they helped manufacture and start, a Holocaust against Jewish people. People want to go back to the old myths. You know what I mean? The old communist myths. You know, I mean, it's crazy. These companies have emphasized the importance of, yeah. And in case people don't know what I'm referencing the elders of Zion. The communist myth, the fabricated stories they made up. The Russians are made up to be able to murder Jews in Russia. the same book that inspired Hitler, that which turned out to be manufactured propaganda, state propaganda. This is right up the alley of what we're talking about today. These companies have emphasized the importance of DEI in maintaining a competitive edge, fostering innovation, and building a positive corporate reputation. While some businesses have scaled back DEI efforts due to the legal and political pressure, only pressure? You mean you could? Well, there's more than legal pressure because Trump, he's just going to end it. He's going to disrupt it or try to disrupt. And those that he can't disrupt, he will just try to put pressure on them, right? These organizations are actively resisting such measures and reaffirming their commitments and inclusivity, 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 inclusivity. What is this? I'm sorry, inclusivity. Did I say it right? Inclusivity. Okay, yeah. It sounded like I said it wrong. Maybe I did. Okay. In any case, that's what they're saying about this for the moment, folks. So I'm going to go check out some Costco stock. I'm going to leave this up. Actually, I'm going to put this in the chat too, just for people that want to review it, right? Let me see here. How much time do I have left? Okay, I got like 15 more minutes. There we go. I'm gonna put that in the chat. And so let me come out of this now. There's one other thing I wanted to check out. Now, people know that Pete Hegseth was appointed now as Secretary of Defense. The drunkard, the guy who can't seem to get home to his lady on time, the alleged pill popper, a young girl stalker, Pete Hegseth, the guy who's basically a flunky in the military. He has been appointed, low-ranking flunky. He's been appointed to be the head of the secretary, to be the Secretary of Defense, which is not a military title. It's a civilian title, but they work with the military to make the executive office function well with the military, to make sure that it's the offices are functioning well, and that the military is doing its duty according to what the president thinks. But the military has a duty to defend the Constitution, not the president. So there's separation of powers still in the U.S. So it doesn't mean the military has to follow any legal order. And in fact, they haven't before. They've resisted illegal orders by Trump, and it's likely they will continue to. But when you nominate a person and appoint a person like Pete Hegseth, a person who has shown that he doesn't really care about the rules, a person that would likely want the rules to be bent for him, it's likely you can get a guy like that to bend the rules, which apply to others too, or attempt to get other people to bend the rules too when it applies to them. So let me see here. That was one of the big stories that came out. And oh man, it's so many. But let me just go back to who was a Capitol Police real quick before I end this. And this guy Acostas was just on the news. Let's hear him first.
That Trump administration officials have discussed inviting some pardoned January 6 convicts to the White House for a potential visit and meeting with the president. One of the officers attacked on January 6, Michael Fanone, joins us now. First, your reaction to these discussions happening in the White House, Michael, to invite some of the rioters to the White House.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me.
Sorry about that. Just an interruption here. For those of y'all that don't know Medea, I would encourage you to go over to her website, because she's been following a particular cult leader by the name of a sicko, by the way. What the hell is his name? They call him the Third Eye, Three God, whatever this guy's name is. I can't even believe it because we were covering him too. And this guy finally was thrown in jail and he's still in jail. But she's been covering the stories of his victims and the mind control that this man has, Nature Boy, has over his victims. And it's very peculiar. It's still going on. But those of you that want to get a look into the brainwashing of a cult leader in the black community, Nature Boy, exactly. You, Allegio, what's his last name? Bishop, right? Thank you for bringing my memory back to me. Um, this guy, aka Three God, right? You need to take a look at her platform because it's only one or two people I would really say really been covering this for a very long time in detail. So if you want to just cut to the chase and get caught up on what's going on with him, I'm pretty sure you can go to her page and check it out and get some solid information. Yeah, Allegio Bishop, this guy, my God, I'm almost having nightmares just from watching some of the horror stories, But I just wanted to say that I appreciate you coming out, Medea, too. I've been peeping you. I just haven't had time lately to come through, but I'm coming through. I'm going to come through. So I encourage everybody else that listens here to follow up with her. She got a real fly way of presenting the information too. But again, it's very comprehensive and a lot of good folk on her platform. So let me go back to this real quick. Let me see here. This guy is a police officer because Trump has pardoned some of these he's pardoned all these damn violent offenders, people that killed, maimed, police officers in this Capitol attack, clearly on camera. This man, Trump, he just pardoned them. And these people are back out on the street. So guess what? One of the dudes is back out on the street. He just got his ass locked up because he had already been wanted. How does that work? He had already been wanted for several other felonies. How does that work? But here.
Pardoned January 6 convicts to the White House for a potential visit and meeting with the president. One of the officers attacked on January 6, Michael Fanone, joins us now. First, your reaction to these discussions happening in the White House, Michael, to invite some of the rioters to the White House.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me. Donald Trump has, ingratiated himself with these violent criminals ever since he announced his candidacy from Waco, Texas. That being said, it's obviously outrageous. It's an insult. But Donald Trump is an insurrectionist president. And so I think it's fitting, to be honest with you.
Tell us more about this phone call that police received. I'm assuming
he's just called Donald Trump an insurrectionist president. And that's not a good look because what that literally means is that his job was to have an insurrection of the United States government. And his job is to uproot all of those laws, right? All of those laws that have protected people from slavery, protected people from Jim Crow, protected people from political persecution, protected people from religious persecution, protected people from gender persecution, protected children's rights. Donald Trump is trying to remove those things. And you can't have an insurrection without changing the Constitution too, right? That's ultimately what he's after. You can't get it through votes, so he's trying to force it. He's trying to coerce United States citizens into going along with him, which I can't figure out myself why that in itself is not a crime. But I'm believing the only reason why it's not a crime is because Congress has not called it one yet with Trump. Congress are the only people that can stop Trump. And if you don't vote, you won't have representatives that will stop him. That's what this is coming down to. So Americans got 2 years to figure out what they like and what they respect. After 2 years, if you haven't figured this out, this is what I anticipate. After 2 years, what I expect. After 2 years, if you haven't figured this out, if there hasn't been a reversal in the Congress, those votes, those representatives, if there's not a huge buildup of Democratic representation within Democratic Party representation within the Congress, American citizens of all types are going to be in for the ride. That it's over for them. I'm just telling you, you know, because some of the things that Trump is going to affect people's lives for lifetimes, not just decades. It can have a lifetime effect. Why would you want to give your children less than you were given? Why would you want that? Why would you want less protections for your children and your family than you had under the last president or all the last president? Why would you want less than that? You're supposed to want more. What you're getting is less. And you're getting a promise for far less, even. That's a promise. That's what this man means by insurrectionist president.
And you received it from DOJ as well.
But Donald Trump is an insurrectionist president, and so I think it's fitting, to be honest with you.
Tell us more about this phone call that police received. I'm assuming you received it from DOJ as well, that the January 6 rioters who were testified against will be released.
Jeg hedder Karoline, og jeg skal starte på Hus Gymnasie.
Commercial. Sorry about that.
Interestingly enough, I didn't get those phone calls, but I know that the individuals that were charged with assaulting have been released. And let's talk about who these individuals are, because I want the American people to understand fully. I want every person that comes on CNN and defends these pardons to understand who these individuals were. They are Daniel Rodriguez, an individual who applied a taser device to my neck while I was being restrained multiple times. Daniel Rodriguez admitted his conduct, pled guilty, and was sentenced to 12 and a half years in prison. He is now free. Kyle Young pled guilty, admitted that while I was being restrained, assaulted, and beaten, he attempted to remove my gun from its holster, all while individuals were telling him to kill me with my gun.
All right, so this is the guy he's talking about. Is this Daniel Rodriguez right here? I believe so. Let's listen.
With where people have seen you most recently. In your latest statement today, you talked about what happened.
First of all, this guy is disgusting, and I don't know what kind of mix he is. Not to try to make that to be derogatory, because it's not. Because folks is just mixed out there, all over the place, and even the people that don't think they are. But to that extent, this guy should know goddamn better. And he definitely doesn't. And I would really, this type of person disgusts me because of that. They have within their DNA an understanding that all people should be treated equally and fairly. But yet, he's not going to represent that. Instead, he's going to represent the oppressor, the most oppressive forces, the most horrific forces against human life. That's what he's trying to support in the United States. He's trying to support hatred. And so I would never want to ever meet this person, because I know what retarded is like. When you meet these people and you talk to them, they don't make no damn sense whatsoever. Their view of the world and of the United States is very limited. The United States is a big country geographically. It's not overpopulated. 350 million people for that geography. That's not overpopulation. That's under. You see, now when you have guys like this, just like feeding into the ignorance, is really shameful. But we should take note of this. Um, this is what can be a result, sadly enough, of poor education, poor access to education. I don't believe this guy have any formal education, really. I don't know why he became a leader. I don't know what his education is, but I'm gonna tell you, if it's politics, just picking up a gun and serving in the military is not enough. It's not going to do it. I don't know if he's ex-military or whatever. That has no connection with you understanding the Constitution, the federal government, or the local government and how it works together. Has nothing to do with that. Has nothing to do with your understanding of American history. Zero. So, did this guy get a degree in American history? Does he have a degree in political science? Like, what's the angle with him? What gives him? Has he been oppressed by some black people, by some Latinos? What gives him that insight? I mean, to do this, I don't know, but it's embarrassing. And you see people like this all over the world. But I'm just saying, when you see it in the United States, in your own country, the country where we grow up, saying, "Hey, man, I don't care where you're from. I get it. I understand. We all cool. You come from this place. That's nothing new to us. Welcome. Here you go. Let me get this and this, or whatever your relationship with another person of a different ethnicity is. I grew up in a place where, you're smart enough to know you support those that support you. You don't have to make it more complicated than that. You support people that support you. People that acknowledge your right to walk down the street, you acknowledge theirs. People that respect your right to be safe when you walk down the street and to do business, and your kids, you respect theirs. It's just simple. But this guy, he got a different story.
You don't like what happened, especially to police officers, but you called the prosecution for yourself and so many others a miscarriage. Do you see what you have done as anything wrong?
I don't see it as what I've done anything wrong. I was improperly indicted.
You see this? He doesn't see anything that he did as wrong. Okay. So that ought to tell you, just if you have any type of common sense, would you get away with this if you were him? If you just put a different name to it, um, fuck Donald Trump movement, and raided the Capitol building, what do you think would happen? What do you think should happen if you said fuck Donald Trump and just marched up there with a hangman rope, 10,000, 5,000 people angry, attack the police, kick your way through into the White House? What do you think should happen? And it's just that simple. Even if we didn't like Trump, we didn't do that to Trump because we respected democracy, even though we have had hard times with democracy because we have had to be patient shareholders in democracy and not get our way all the fucking time in this democracy. This clown, he just went out there and supported people that never think they have to be patient about anything in a democracy. They think the democracy is theirs first and no one else's. They think that you having equality is harm to them. That's what this is about. And this moron went out there and said, "Hey, I'm going to be a coward of a man. I'm not going to represent what is in my DNA, who I am as a person. Actually, I'm going to go out and represent a fabrication. This is a plastic fake man." No one should ever concede to an ignorant fool like this for any reason. You shouldn't allow this man to deliver ice cream to your school. This man shouldn't be allowed to fix to change a carburetor in your car. He shouldn't be allowed to check your heating in your home. This man should be in fucking prison. And understand, this man will commit another violent act, and this man will instruct other people to commit violent acts, whether he knows it or not, violent acts that are going to affect everyday Americans. That's what this fool. He's not even talking about using the law at all. He's talking about fuck the law. You didn't give me what I want. We're going to take what we want. These people, even if it's not his organization that's saying all of that, he's working with organizations that are.
I do see it as a miscarriage of justice. And I think, like I said before, I can't condone like assaults on a police officer.
Oh, you can't condone it? You can't condone it? Yo, I can condone the police whipping your ass. And it's too bad they didn't whip your ass on those Capitol steps. Like, really, because you were the person directing these other people that got hurt also. You don't even have empathy for your own goddamn people. You're not smart enough to. And that means you and those people, since you're not smart enough to have even empathy for each other, we know you cannot have empathy for the suffering of any other people. That means you got to be put down.
I think President Trump said it right. He was going to go case by case.
President Trump is a liar, always known to be a liar. So just because he said we're going to go case by case, duh, you already know that's a lie. And you would be a damn fool again to believe President Trump, because after all, you just said you were part of a mistake. Beating up the police was a mistake. Well, did you hear Trump say that?
And he did. And it wasn't the actions that he pardoned. It was the miscarriage of justice that he pardoned.
You hear that lie? It wasn't the actions that he pardoned. It was the miscarriage of justice that he pardoned. Duh, that's a lie, dude. None of those people were charged with a miscarriage of justice. They were charged for assault, for invading the Capitol, for insurrection, trying to stop the peaceful transition of power. You hear this, dude? So these are the real punks of the United States of America, because not only will they try to do shit, but they're not even brave enough to stand on their square and tell you this. This dude is a sucker. He's not even representing what's in his actual DNA as a person. He is a complete, utter sham of a man.
Why he pardoned. And
isn't that one and the same in the end, though?
Just that he
Look at
pardoned.
this lazy. I'm sorry, but CNN got to push back harder. It's a lie what he just said. That's not a fact, CNN. So you have to call a lie a lie.
It was a misanswer, but I think President Trump said it right. He was going to go case by case, and he did. And it wasn't the actions that he pardoned. It was the miscarriage of justice that he pardoned.
That's a lie. That's not a fact. That's a blatant lie. He literally charged them with not what he's talking about. It doesn't even make, this is the problems. These news media outlets, they allow these people too much time to lie, and the pushback is very little on a lie.
Why he pardoned. And
isn't that one and the same in the end, though?
No, it's not one and the same. It's not one and the same. He's lying. It's not one and the same at all. What he's describing is not what happened. That's all that is. He has blatantly misrepresented and lied about what actually factually happened. And he's done it on CNN. Where is the pushback from legacy media?
Right. He was going to go case by case, and he did. And it wasn't the actions that he pardoned. It was the miscarriage of justice that he pardoned. Why he pardoned. And
isn't that one and the same in the end, though?
No, because Trump pardoned their actions. That's why they're out of jail, for their actions. There is no one that determined there was a miscarriage of justice. Did Congress determine there was a miscarriage of justice? Where did that happen? Did the Supreme Court say that? Was it where did that happen?
No, it's not, because the process has to be fair, right?
I mean, he's still wrong. At least he said no, it's not the same, but he's still lying about it. He's not telling you why it's not the same.
If the process isn't fair, then the process is corrupt. If the
process isn't fair, so the same people that were in power processing cases, everybody else's case, these are the same folks that when it came to processing their case, somehow it's totally different. It's the same thing with Trump. When it comes to collecting taxes, somehow it's so different. You can't collect taxes against Trump. You can't expect Trump to show his tax receipts, his tax payments. No, you can't expect that from him, but you can expect it from everybody else. The rules are constantly being changed when it comes to Trump and his sycophants. It's like, what the hell is going on with this? And the media is sandwashing it. The media is making it sound like there's something there when it's totally deranged. And look at her face. She can't even make out what to think of what he's saying. But the short answer is just call a lie, because it's obvious that is a lie what he's stating. And it's obvious that you have the proof to back it up. So I don't know. Legacy media seems to have done a job in keeping Trump in the fight, keeping these people in a fight, where in most Western nations, they would have put that shit down because they don't want their country overthrown. Very simple. This type of behavior overthrows your country. This is not a change of, the guard. No, 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 no. They're trying to overthrow the Constitution.
Process is corrupt. Therefore, the only solution.
See, they keep saying the process is corrupt, but what process? Following the Constitution?
To this is a pardon.
You see that? So that's just, he's telling you flat out that the process is corrupt, and the process was the Constitution. It calls for that to be punished, those actions. And these guys are just pretending like, nah, no, it doesn't. But you know what they're going to do? They're going to be right back at the door tomorrow trying to harm the Constitution in another severe manner, in another severe way. That's exactly all this Trump, that's exactly all him running for office is about, attacking the Constitution. At the end of the day, the Constitution is what protects people's rights. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the amendments, right? So that's all you got. Everything else is built up upon that. The entire government, the judicial system, the executive branch, the branches of Senate, the Congress, local government. It's all built upon the Constitution, federal and local. You see, the laws about taxes, all governed. You see, and this man is saying, hey,